Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a very special guest.
I'm Kat.
Kat is also a student at Brown and she makes YouTube videos. I actually watched your channel before I came to Brown. I don't know if I ever told you. So I just think it's crazy that now I get to make a video with you. In today's video, we're going to be answering some of the questions that you sent on my Instagram. So our first question is, which major do you study at Brown?
So I'm a CS and econ major. It's not actually a dual degree, it's like a joint degree. So I have the normal amount of classes that a regular student would have for one major, and then just half of them are in the CS department and half of them are econ.
I'm studying public health. I just made an entire video on that, so if you want to check it out.
Did you declare yet?
Yeah, I declared.
Okay.
The next question is just why Brown? I want to include this question because I know a lot of you guys are still choosing between colleges right now. For me, I think the biggest reason why I chose Brown was the academic structure. Brown is really well known for the open curriculum. We're given a lot of freedom to take whatever classes we want without having to worry about gen ed requirements, and because of that, whenever you take a class, I think that you're surrounded by people who genuinely care about the subject. And for me, I already have some restrictions on what I can and cannot take because I have to fulfill pre-med requirements, but outside of that, I really get to take whatever classes that I want and things that I'm really interested in. So it's definitely a freedom that I don't think I would have been able to have if I went to a school in like the UC system, which is another school that I was considering.
And in high school, I really struggled because I was torn between applying to art school and applying to normal school. Yeah, so yeah, so that was one of the things I loved about Brown too, that I could go to a school that had incredible academics in things like CS and econ and math, and then right across the street was RISD, and I could take classes there and really do a lot of the graphic design and fine art stuff that I really loved. So that was a huge reason why I chose Brown. And I was also deciding between Brown and NYU, and deciding between like NYU Stern. So because that's such a business focused school, it was really hard to take classes in other subjects outside of that. So I think that was the really big factor of Brown that drew me in.
Another thing that I really love about Brown is just like the professors are incredible. Like after going to office hours, I always feel just like super like enlightened. It's definitely something that I really wanted to take advantage of in college, is just being able to connect with like experts in their own field.
Yeah, definitely.
And just like learning from incredibly like passionate people who actually like care about undergraduate education rather than just like being here to do the research.
Just because the professors are so involved with undergrad courses, since they're required to teach, but they also just want to do it because they love it. So instead of having grad students teach most of the courses, like pretty much I'd say like 99% of the courses at Brown are taught by professors, so that's really cool.
When did you know Brown was a school for you? I think I always knew that it was the school that I wanted to go to just because it checked off all of the boxes that I wanted, like the school size, the academic curriculum without having to do gen ed, a focus on undergraduate teaching. So those are like the main things that I really wanted, and plus I think Providence is a great place to be.
I definitely agree. I mean, Providence isn't a huge city, it's not Boston or New York, but I think it's definitely got a lot of charm, and it's not somewhere I would have lived if I didn't go to school here. So I think it's really cool that because you're going to school here, you still get to experience that city. When I was applying to school, it was pretty similar, where I knew Brown was somewhere that I wanted to be, but it really actually wasn't my dream school. Yeah, surprisingly. I mean, I think it's because I just had this fascination on like Columbia and living in New York. Yeah, so that was like my top school, and I was really devastated when I didn't get in. Now that I look back, I don't think I would have done well in the core.
I was just gonna say that's so ironic because
I know they're
core.
such like different sides of the spectrum. So that worked out for the best that I did not get in. So I think after visiting and really being able to picture myself on campus, that's when I knew.
Okay, the next question is just stress culture at Brown, question mark? I don't know.
May had to teach me what stress culture meant.
It's so chill here that she didn't even know what stress culture meant. Like, okay, so to give you an idea of what I think stress culture is, I went to a very like academic college prep high school where there was sort of this implicit competition of stress among students, where if someone said I like lost so much sleep over this problem set last night, the other person would be like, oh well, I didn't sleep at all. And this sort of like toxic mentality of like constantly wanting to one up anyone who's doing better than you really like affected the student climate there, to the point where like there was a lot of like mistrust and like people weren't willing to collaborate. And I think a big shift from high school to college is that I think there's this culture of like collaboration, and people are willing to share notes and study together, because ultimately if you do better on an exam, it's not going to really affect like anyone else in the class, unless in like very specific circumstances, if like there's some curve where you could get curved out. But like I don't really think Brown even does that, where you can get like curved out of a class or whatever. So like even when coming to Brown and like being pre-med, I thought, oh my gosh, Gen Chem is like a weeder class. Like I need to do well in this or else I'm gonna get kicked out of pre-med. But even in like really large pre-med lecture classes, I didn't feel like it was this culture of like weeding people out. And because there are a lot of classes where it's just a cutoff and you have to get a certain grade to get an A, people are more than willing to help each other, because it's just, you will both mutually benefit.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think people are super, super collaborative, especially within the CS department. In the intro courses, they're a lot more strict on collaboration, but as you get into more higher level, the professors and the TAs will actually encourage you to work with other people and, talk about your code and talk about your solutions. So it's super collaborative in that way. I've never really met anybody who didn't want to help somebody out, and something that I've heard from people at other schools that are more pre-professional or more competitive, where people will actually try to sabotage you, which is crazy.
I heard some crazy stories, like ripping pages out of textbooks.
I've heard that too. Or just like not sending you notes, or like sending you the wrong notes, like sending you wrong answers. But that being said, like I think the classes are still very challenging, but I think that also kind of fosters that community, and that people really feel, we're in this together, so they'll help you through assignments.
I made a lot of friends just through like mutual suffering.
Yeah.
So great. It's the best way to make friends. The next question is, biggest differences between Brown and high school and how you adjusted to them?
I definitely think coming to college, one of the biggest difference was that now you're a lot more independent. In high school, you had assignments due pretty much like every other day, and you had to go to school unless you were super sick. In college, there's nobody really telling you what you need to do. Like it's so easy to skip class or just like fall behind on assignments or procrastinate. And also because there's always stuff going on, either socially or with clubs or things like that, it's really easy to feel FOMO and feel like, oh, I want to go out because I want to have fun, but then you're procrastinating on your work. So I think the biggest transition was learning to be more independent and be responsible for the work I had to do, and really pushing myself to say, okay, you have to stay in today because you have to get this done.
After coming to college, I think I've become more involved with like campus organizations rather than like compared to high school, where I was mostly just like studying and just doing school. And I did my extracurriculars on the weekends. Now it's sort of incorporated into my daily schedule. What clubs or activities at Brown are you guys involved in? I'm currently the co-EIC of Visions with Hillary, so we work together in putting together the magazine, and it's sort of like centered on the AAPI or Asian American experience at both Brown and RISD. And I'm also involved in Project Let's. Project Let's is an organization on campus that's focused on community building and advocating for people with lived experiences of mental health. So I'm currently the marketing coordinator for that, and we're working on some really cool initiatives, sort of like a photojournalistic thing, for people to share their stories with their experiences with mental illness. So that's in the works. And next year, I'm going to be coordinator of Brown Science Prep, which is something I've really loved since freshman year. Essentially, we have mentors that write and teach lessons in various STEM topics to high schoolers in our area. I definitely am trying to like narrow in on fewer things and like commit more deeply to them. Instead of like spreading myself out too thin.
Yeah, definitely. So as May said, I was also involved in Visions last year. So I was their treasurer, so I did a lot of things involving the budget and talking to the university regarding how much money we were getting for the printing and things like that. This year I'm running Brown Consulting Club with 2 other friends. It's the club that me and 2 other friends started, actually. So that's been really exciting. It's been around for a year.
It's been doing very well.
So basically our mission is to make consulting more accessible to Brown students, since Brown is not a super pre-professional campus, so we just kind of try to host a lot of info sessions with different consulting companies and talk about the opportunities they have. And we also do like consulting projects for startups, nonprofits, and other types of companies. So basically a team of 5 students will just work as student consultants for free for these companies for a semester, which is really, really cool. And then the years before that, I was involved in Better World by Design, which is a organization at Brown and RISD, and they put together a design conference every year. So I ran that. I was involved for a year as their finance coordinator, and then I ran it my sophomore year, so last year, and it was a ton of fun. Like, it was really great to get to meet other people who were not in STEM and interested in design.
What are some fun traditions that we have at Brown?
Well, spring weekend's coming up. That's always fun.
Yeah, this year we have Daniel Caesar and Amine headlining.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. The only other one I can think of off the top of my head is like the naked donut run. I know they have this at some other schools, but people will literally be naked and running around like the science library handing out donuts.
It's fun.
I've never witnessed it personally.
What? You have to see it.
I feel like I'm just never there at the right time.
Okay, it's always the last night of reading period at like 9:30 p.m.
Oh wow, you're on top of that. Tips for balancing academics, extracurriculars, and social life at Brown.
That's a hefty question.
That's something I'm still trying to figure out.
The first tip is really just like accepting that it will never really be fully balanced, and you're always kind of just like juggling it. But then just getting comfortable with the fact that, you know, some weeks you'll have more work and you have to focus on academics, and some weeks you'll have less work so you can spend more time with your friends and or maybe extracurriculars.
Yeah. For example, like leading up to biochem exams, like that will literally be the only thing I'm doing. I'll just be sitting in the library and studying for that for hours straight. Other weeks you're more free and you can do sort of like social events, work more on club stuff, and it's very like cyclical in nature. Some clubs are more active like in the beginning of the year for interviewing and stuff like that. Other clubs are more active at the end of the year for like release party for visions. So I think just like figuring out your schedule and marking down all the dates is really important for keeping balance. I think Google Calendaring is bless up for Google Calendar. Like, I did not use it at all in high school, but now in college, it's just like I rely on it. Just realized that there's like a stickies thing on my laptop.
Oh, really?
For Post-its. So I've been using that, and it's really helpful.
I've also found it really useful to schedule out work time for myself. So it's like I'll put like 3 hours to like do this one assignment, so I know that I have time for it. So even though it's not like a meeting with anybody, it still helps me to see like, okay, I have like these many hours I need to get work done, so then maybe I'll like have time to grab dinner with somebody. I think doing meals with friends is super nice because you get two things out of the way at once. You get to socialize and then also eat at the same time.
Realizing that it's okay to not be productive some days. Like some days I'll just not do any work and feel really like bad about it, but then realize it's not that huge of a setback. Like it's totally okay to just take a day off sometimes. How hard is it to juggle CS with other subjects?
All right. Well, I'm taking CS with econ, which is another subject. So I'd say in that regard, because I have to take less CS classes, it's definitely super manageable, especially because I only take about 1 or 2 CS classes per semester, and that really is kind of the max that you can physically do, just because the courses are really time consuming. Generally, I'd say they're about 15 to 30 hours a week, depending on the course.
15 to 30?
Yeah. I took like one course my sophomore fall was just 30 hours a week, just straight. There's so much material to go over, and the assignments are due every single week, and they're huge projects that you have to do. So there's not really a break. But I think it's definitely totally doable, especially if, you know, you work on them with a group of people, and you guys are collaborating on it. And I think you kind of have to take CS with other subjects, because otherwise you just get too deep into CS and you're not doing anything else. And I really like being able to kind of shift gears and work on econ or work on an art class or something like that, to not only be doing CS all the time. If you're like one of the types of people who loves CS and loves taking those classes, where there definitely are, like by all means do it, but I think for most people, especially because it just gets so dense and, you know, you're staring at your screen for hours trying to fix your bugs or whatever, it's really nice to be able to try something else and take your mind off of it for a while.
What are some unique traits that Brown looks for in students? I think that there's like this notion where you feel like you have to get like a national or international award in order to like get into the Ivy League, and that's a really intimidating thought to think like at the age of 17 or 18 you already need to accomplish something that's like on that magnitude, and I think for Brown especially that's definitely not the case. I think our admissions committee, like, while I cannot directly
we're not
speak on their
admissions
behalf,
officers, so.
definitely not, but I feel like our admissions committee is more focused on like seeing people who are passionate, who are genuinely like empathetic and care about the world.
I know it sounds cheesy, and like when I was in high school, people said to me, oh, like just do things that you like and like things that you're passionate about. I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. But honestly, being on the other end, I think that's one of the biggest thing that Brown looks for, because they want people who are passionate about what they want to study and what they want to do. And you know, you don't have to have that figured out in high school, but you should have something that you like, and you should be engaged in things around that area. For me, outside of school is like the visual arts thing. So that's actually what I wrote my comment app about how I felt that art gave me a different way to evaluate myself, and also just look at the world. And that was something that my admissions officer picked up on when she read my essay. She actually sent me a postcard after.
Oh, that's so good.
And she was like, I really loved like your essay about, you know, how passionate you are about art and everything. So that's why I say like that's something that Brown really looks for.
Make decisions in the present based off of like what you currently are interested in, and like I think you can like delve really deeply into things using that mentality.
I definitely think like depth over breadth is like something that a lot of schools look for.
Okay, the next question is also mainly for you. Could you talk a little bit about Brown and RISD dual degree, as well as like cross-registering for RISD classes?
Yeah, I'm not a dual degree. The reason is because I put together my portfolio too late to do the admissions. So I really did think about applying, but the dual degree is 5 years, and that was something I was like struggling with, that whether or not I wanted to be in college for 4 versus 5 years. But I do have a lot of friends who are doing the dual degree, and they absolutely love it. It is really challenging just because, one, you're trying to balance your course load and RISD classes. Like Brown classes are 1 to 1.5 hours every day, whereas RISD courses are about 4 to 5 hours every week, or twice a week. So it's really difficult to kind of try to fit those into your schedule just because they'll conflict a lot. I think it's like also hard because your freshman year you live at RISD, and then your sophomore year you live at Brown, so you're always trying to find, you know, that balance between the two. So you do have to apply to like Brown and RISD and the dual degree program separately and get in. But I have heard that if you are waitlisted for the dual degree, you can kind of just email the admissions officer and see what's up. I had a friend I met at ADOC who did that, and then he got off the waitlist.
Yeah, sending letters if you get waitlisted never hurts. Like I encourage it. I've gotten a lot of DMs about like what you should include in the letter. I think generally just include an update of like your accomplishments and just restate your interests, but in a specific way that applies to you and what programs you are pursuing at that school. Yeah,
definitely like focus on why, like what you can get a Brown RISD program that you can't get anywhere else. For normal Brown people, we do have the option of cross-registering at RISD, so taking a couple courses. You do only get 4 courses that you can take there during your time at Brown, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually is, because it is really hard to fit them into your schedule. I lucked out this year because all my classes are in the morning, so I could schedule a 1 to 6 p.m. RISD studio. Which is on Fridays, which kind of sucks, but it's fine. So basically the process is you just have to email the professor and see if they'll let you into the class. A lot of the time they will say like they can't guarantee anything because priority does go to RISD students, so it does kind of suck because you don't really find out whether or not you can get into the class until maybe a week or so before. And then you just go to the registrar and fill out a form. Once you get the okay from the professor, it's pretty easy. And it takes only like 10 minutes to get down to RISD campus, or 5 if you take the bus. One hack that I have found is that they offer courses over winter break. Usually I'll do a winter course at RISD over winter break. And I still get 2.5 weeks at home for Christmas and New Year's and everything. But then I come back basically like the 2nd or 3rd day of January. And then usually like professors will have more space in winter courses, and it'll be easier to fit into your schedule because you're not taking any other Brown classes. And if you want to like offload your course balance, it's nice because it counts as taking like 5 classes my semester.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my spring semester, but the course load is very like, I like finish most of my RISD stuff before the Brown stuff starts.
Is it like part of the transcript as spring semester?
Yeah.
Oh.
So then I can't take 5 classes my spring semester, but like I was not going to anyway.
Like, do you have examples of classes that are like historically Brown students could have taken at RISD? Like I know some classes you just like can't take as a Brown student.
I think can't take is a strong word. So the one that I'm currently in is supposed to be for graphic design majors only. but me and
okay.
my roommate at Brown are both in it, and neither of us are graphic design majors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so a lot of the classes will say like only for, you know, graphic design or printmaking or whatever majors, but I think as long as you can work something out with professor, you're fine.
Good to know.
Yeah.
We kind of touched on this already, but do we think Brown is hard academically? You're learning a lot in a really short amount of time. Like the courses here are sort of like more in-depth, and what you learn in high school in like the span of a year, we learn in maybe like a few weeks. So just like the pace is really hard to keep up with sometimes, especially in a course like biochemistry. You're learning like 80 slides of like really dense information every class, and you're expected to keep up with that every week. It definitely can be really difficult, but it's definitely not unmanageable.
I think with CS it's more because you have to spend so much time with your code and debugging it. That's where a lot of the time comes from. It's also that the courses are a lot more challenging than in high school. I only took like one high school course in CS, and it was like the very basic, like for my graduation requirements, so I didn't take AP computer science at all. Like first semester in 15, CS 15, which is like our intro class, I went from like not knowing how to code to writing a full like Pac-Man program that you could like play Pac-Man on, which is just like the types of things you're expected to do in the course are very challenging. But there's a lot of resources with like the TAs and the professor, and just like online with like the slides and lectures and everything to help get you through the course. So it definitely is hard. Like college is hard in general, but not unmanageable.
Our last question is, what are some unique classes at Brown? Also like favorite classes or professors? I have talked about healthcare in the U.S. in my public health video, but I really enjoyed healthcare in the U.S. I think that was the first class I took at Brown where I like genuinely really enjoyed the subject matter.
I've heard really great things about that class.
Yeah, because like the professor is like super inspirational, and also there are a bunch of like guest lecturers that talk about very different like facets of the U.S. healthcare system. So that's a really great class I enjoyed. It's taught by Dr. Wilson. Oh, another class that I really, really love that I'm taking right now is The Craving Mind. It's PHP 1890 with Dr. Brewer. He's a new professor over at the School of Public Health. He's also a researcher at the Mindfulness Center, and it's a class about habits, addiction, and how that impacts like public health. It's super interesting.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, like some examples of like topics that we've covered are addiction to self, romantic love and how like addiction plays a role in that, mindfulness training and how like teaching someone to like meditate and be more mindful can like impact their mental health.
For me, I think favorite class was either between this class I took in the CS department called UI UX, so that's like user interfaces and user experience, and basically that class goes over how like websites and apps are designed, and how you can figure out whether something is designed well, or do like tests with users and see if like the way you've designed something is actually, you know, what somebody else can actually use what you've designed. So that was definitely one of my favorite classes, just because it really opened my eyes to this field of doing both CS and design, and previously I'd really struggled to kind of put those two passions together, but here I really felt like, you know, this is something that like I could do professionally in the future. So I think that class was really cool. And the professor Jeff is my advisor now, and I actually TA'd for him, so that was really fun. And my other favorite class is one that I'm taking right now called Corporate Finance. It's very difficult, but the professor is really, really engaging. The class is really cool because it teaches you a lot of stuff that you would do like as an investment banker. Freshman year, I took one, like a sociology class, which was really interesting. It was like, it was called Who Am I? So it was talking about like your perception of self and how that changes, which was really interesting. That was like a first year seminar, I think.
Cool.
Yeah.
Alright, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you took something away from it. Thank you so much to Kat for being on my channel. We also filmed a video on Kat's channel about things that we like and dislike about Brown. Make sure to check that out. I will leave it in the description.
Thanks so much for watching.
Alright, bye!
Bye!